Evening all.
Good evening.
Oh, good. This is working. Great.
Hey, Eli. Hi. I need to let you know I'm in transit.
Got it.
So there'll be a point when I get home where there'll be maybe a few minutes while I move from one to the other. Just want you to know.
Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, we got a lot of people moving and grooving tonight. It's a big night. It's election night. So I know some of us are actually with our council members this evening, which is pretty exciting. I know that Janice is with the Blumenfield team tonight, for instance. Everyone seeing this working out okay so far? There you are, Kent. Hey, Kent.
Hey there.
Hey, Phil.
Hi.
When you logged in, did you see that it was recording? I just want to make sure that the recording is working. Awesome. Great. Cool. Well, we still have a minute to go, so got a good number already. Did everyone find the instructions pretty clear? Hey, Glenn.
Did you know it was me? And I'm on mute, so it'll take me a while to unmute myself.
Because you're driving. Yes, please be careful. Yeah. Please, safety first. Kent, I see you in the agenda. So is this where you usually
I was just checking the link.
Got it. Okay, cool. Welcome. Welcome, Henny. Welcome, Rob. Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Bike Oven. Cool.
Good evening.
Hey.
I love it with the bike working. That's excellent.
That's extra credit points.
That is the ultimate shot. We should take some pictures. Hey, Michael.
Oh, heck. Dang it.
Just as people are flooding in, did everyone have a chance? I hope we'll start figuring things out, but everyone got the agenda. Hopefully, we're refining that process. So thanks for bearing with us. There was a lot of work that Glenn was putting into this. So,
Would it be possible for you to send out the minutes at the same time as you send out the agenda?
yes, that would be a good idea. Let's see. And then we just ordered the files today. I'm going to ask Henny if she can assist since I'm running this meeting. Henny, can you post a link to the minutes from last? Thank you. I see you're nodding. Thank you. Okay.
I think we probably have quorum, right?
Do we? Can we do a count, Kent? I'm getting a bunch of notes from people, so let me keep on getting people in. Okay, cool. So, should we do roll call? Is it too late? Kwong, if you'd like to, I think we have a relatively quick agenda, so I think that should be possible. Let's just get everybody in and accounted for first, if you don't mind.
That's fine.
I think it's good, so we can just sort of amend that. But to begin, welcome everyone. I think we do have quorum. Let's just do our normal call to order. It is now, Kent, are you ready to go as our secretary?
Yeah, hold on. Ready.
Okay, we'll dive in. So doing roll call, it is now 6:34. Thanks everyone for being so timely tonight. Here is our, just do roll call. So from the mayor appointees, Henny is present. Glenn, thank you for driving and being here. You don't have to say anything. We see you.
I'm here, and if you could mute me if there's too much noise. Thank you.
Sure, I can do that. Hold on a second. Okay, you're muted. Okay, and Karen. Hi, Karen. Thanks for showing. Hi. And then I'm here. And then CD1, Jennifer. She's been texting me, so I don't know. She's having trouble, but okay, we'll keep going. Oh boy. There's Janice. All right, admitting people. Here we go. Sorry, lots of juggling here. So C1, Jennifer Gill, not present yet. CD2 is officially vacant. Michael, are you here? There you are, Michael. Welcome, Michael. We'll connect later.
Are you Eli?
I'm Eli. Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining the BAC. We'll work that out with CD2. CD3, Janice. She just joined, I believe.
Hi.
Hi, Janice. And we understand. Thanks for the heads up that you'll be leaving early for that exciting event. Please say hi to Councilmember Blumenfield. CD4, Tyler. CD5, Taylor. He's on a gig, right? So, Michael, are you stepping in today? Thank you, Michael. CD6, Carino. Don't see him. CD7, John Lowy. John? No, not here. Okay, CD8, Aubrey. Usually comes a little bit later, so hopefully he'll be here. CD9, Ade. CD10 is vacant. CD11, Kent. Good evening. CD12, Mike. Did I see Mike? No, okay. CD13, evening, Philip. Thank you for being here. CD14 is vacant as far as I know. CD15, John Jones, the second. Let's call our alternates. Curtis from CD4, are you here this evening? Let's see, Curtis. Okay. Michael, thank you for showing. Rob, good evening. Okay, cool. So I think between our alternates and our people, how many do we have total, Kent? Do you have a count? Do you need me to unmute you? Oh,
I count 8.
And here comes Taylor. There's 9.
Okay, well, that
Tyler, sorry.
Taylor doesn't change it because Michael was standing in front.
No, Tyler, not Taylor.
Tyler, sorry, that was my miss. Tyler, yep. So we're here. Is anyone else waiting in the waiting room? Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Thanks, Michael.
I see 9. Is that what you get, Rob?
Yes.
Okay, quorum at 6:39. You're muted, Eli.
Great. All right, so here we are. We have quorum. So now we move to approval of the minutes, our second item for the April 12th, 2022 meeting. I believe we're up to date on all of our minutes approvals. So were there any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, can someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Thanks,
second
Ken.
it.
I hear a
Who's
second.
the second?
Glenn?
Okay.
That was Henriette who seconded it.
Oh,
It was Henny. Okay, thanks, Henny.
Sorry.
Oh, no, man, you're helping us get through this. Okay, great. Okay, so now that the minutes, so now I have to take it to a vote. So hearing no comments, I guess we can move on to the vote. So all in favor of approving the minutes, please, how do we do this? We raise our hands, I guess is the best way of doing it. And, or if you are on the phone, please identify yourself.
We could also just say, are there any no's or abstentions, if it's
Are
easier.
there any no's and abstentions? Hearing none, I say the minutes are approved unless there's some, yeah, it looks like hearing none, I say the minutes are approved.
Glenn, do you mind muting yourself, or could we mute Glenn?
Oh,
A
sure.
lot of road noise.
Let me just say, virtual meetings, you do need to have, I mean, it's fine to say no and abstentions, but you do need to call for the yes votes and in some manner. Technically, you don't have to roll call, but you need to, do the raise hands, everyone say aye, and then you could declare that, declare yes.
Okay,
That's
so let's
the
make sure
law
this is,
with
For whatever it's
virtual.
worth, my neighborhood council with Dunn present all the time, we say there are any no's or abstentions on non-finding items, and there's never been an issue. So just wanted to say that.
Right, they're a violation of the EVD protocols, just so you know.
okay, Glenn, sorry, I just muted you just because the car noise, but let's do it formal so we can get it done. So I'm going to ask everyone who's a BAC member to please raise your hand and hold it up high so that we can just do the count more time. So I see Karen, Philip, Henny, Rob, do you have your, oh, there's Janice coming back with a flying hand in. Rob can't do it, that's right. Tyler, we can't see you or hear you.
He
Michael,
raised his hand.
he did. Okay, great. Michael, okay, I think that's all we're in favor. Ken, do you concur? I see a nodded head, so I'm going to take that as a yes. Great, let's move. Thanks, everyone. So the third item up is public comment on non-agenda items. I'm just going to read this out. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker at the discretion of the presiding officer. Per State Brown Act, brief clarifying questions by members are allowed. Discussion is not. So now that I've reminded us of what comment is, I'd like to open up the floor to public comment for non-agenda items. Do we have any takers? Anyone from the bike oven? You've got 4 people there that I'm counting. No, just happy to be here. We're happy to see you here. Thank you for joining. Anyone else from the public who would like to make comment tonight?
I want to hear Bike Oven talk. They look very
Hopefully-
interesting.
As members of the public, just quickly, would the members of the bike oven please identify, just kind of share who you are and just so we know who's with us tonight? That'd be kind of nice.
I'm Jordan. I
I'm Jennifer. Hello, Ronaldo.
Hey, I'm Andres. Danny.
Yeah, thanks. It's so great to have your participation. Thanks for showing up and being a part of this process, this committee, this conversation. Okay, great. Did you have any comment that you'd like to make from the bike oven?
No, this is for me and Jen. This is our second meeting we tuned into, so we're kind of just here to see, like, you know, what goes on during the meetings, and you know, we can kind of, we're streaming it right now, so we've got it like up on a projector. You know, maybe try to get some more people in every month, give people space to participate. So we're just here to see what's going on.
Great. Well, thanks for coming out. We really appreciate it. And if you have any follow-up questions, I'll put my email in the chat. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to provide any kind of follow-up if you have any questions. Okay. Great. Thank you for showing. The fourth is we're hoping that Mehmet Berker was going to be able to come from CD4 to share some of the conversations that have been happening around the Griffith Park cut-through traffic conversation that's really taking off right now. But he had a commitment. Even Kent pressured him and he said no. So we weren't successful in getting Mehmet to come out tonight. And he did offer to potentially send a statement from the councilwoman, but as of yet, I haven't received anything. Kent, have you? No, I'm seeing a no. Okay, so that's unfortunate. We'll hope to get that statement from CD4 at a future time. But with that said, Kwong, because we have a little bit of space, does the committee? Is it okay? Glenn, tell me if this is okay. But can we move to Kwong's can he just sort of make his comments and share his update, please? Does anyone have a problem with that?
It says Caltrans on there. It should be fine.
Does it? All right, there it is. Perfect. So thank you, Michael. Go ahead. Kwong, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Hello, everyone. My name is Kwong. I am the Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordinator at Caltrans District 7. I am in a Senior Transportation Planner role. So basically, my comment is that, you know, I'd like to thank all of you who have commented on our Caltrans Active Transportation Plan for District 7. We received a lot of your comments through our April comment ending date, and we are incorporating those comments into our summary report, and we hope to get our completed summary report by the end of this month. If not, then it would be probably sometime in July, as well as the GIS data that goes with it. And just remind you guys, the Active Transportation Plan is a needs assessment of bicycle and pedestrian needs within state highway corridors across District 7, being LA and Ventura counties. And as a second little side note, for those of you who are familiar with US 101 freeway and Amistoy in the city, in the community of Encino, we are potentially looking at doing a public meeting regarding Amistoy pedestrian overcrossing, and that could, depending on approvals and such, we're looking at that at the sometime at the beginning of August. And that's it for me. So, yeah.
Thanks, Kwong. Are there any questions? Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah. Hi, Kwong. Thanks for joining us. I wonder if you could explain a little more about a needs assessment versus a plan with projects and an implementation plan. Will the needs assessment lead to that? Is that inevitable? Or yeah,
No.
Appreciate if you can respond.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with responding. Regarding, so our plan is technically, in terms of like how it's executed, it's a needs assessment. It provides us, if some of you may remember, if when you left public comment in our plan, and as well as the survey, we had last year we had a map-based survey where we invited folks from our partner agencies and members of the public and stakeholder organizations to place a bunch of pins on a map to tell us where their concerns are. We factored that in addition to crash data and other types of data, speed limits and so forth, and like, you know, known gaps where like we don't have like crosswalks or sidewalks or bike lanes, to create a needs assessment. So the needs assessment, if you go to the website has currently been transitioned out, but when you looked at the story map that we had up last year and this in the spring, basically there are points and segments of where we need to focus improvements on, and they're prioritized. So it's a needs assessment. It is not a list of potential projects. It is a location. It's basically a database of needs, and that's being provided to us. So when we initiate our future project, our current and future projects, that we have those known list of needs in a map, so that our project engineers can basically, you know, tack off, you know, this location and that location, and take a look at the comments that people have left on it, if that helps. Because obviously this, you know, the location-based needs, you know, when we do our actual projects, right, you know, we have to go through public engagement. And of course, that's when we go to the community to better understand and incorporate their needs, and of course, ask them what their needs are and try to, you know, address those needs.
Okay, so for those of us that, you know, have certain projects that we identified in the map and we'd like to see them pursued, what do you think would be the next step or opportunity to lobby for various projects?
I mean, in terms of, are you referring to like new concepts outright, or what do you?
Well, I guess it would be a new concept if a facility does not exist on a roadway yet and one is needed. For instance, Santa Monica Boulevard in West LA, between the end of the bike lanes and the Santa Monica city border is one of interest. You know, I'm not sure who's, if it's on any list yet, apparently not.
So, you know, without getting into the weeds, right? We actually have a project that is currently in design phase that will create a combination. You know how in the city of Los Angeles, when there are bus lanes, the bus lanes are open to bicyclists. So we actually have a project in the pipeline that's going to create a peak hour bus lane that is open to bicyclists.
Okay, well, listen, I don't want to get into details on that particular project. That was just an example for what we should expect in terms of, you know, how this is going to unfold in terms of realizing suggested projects.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you have any questions or any projects you'd like to suggest, send me an email. That's the best thing. So at least we can, you know, catalog it, warehouse it, you know, and we understand, you know, where your concerns are, because obviously, you know, the pin on the map survey, you know, obviously closed last year.
Yeah, I'm referring to pins on the map that were identified by our members and the cycling community. I mean, so there's a list. When will it be evaluated for implementation or funding or scoping or whatever the next step is?
So all of your comments and pins on the map have all been, you know, they've been, you know, we have the data, or the consultant will be providing us the data, either or, and we will be using that to incorporate suggestions, you know, in the project. So when we have projects that are coming up, we can, you know, have our engineers take a look at those comments and try to address them.
Thank you.
Kwong, maybe you can share your email address since you made that offer in the chat.
Will do.
Thanks. So we'll look forward to getting a report back, Kwong, and if there's any kind of link or written materials that you can share with us, of course, we'd love to see those, and we'll be reaching out in advance of the next meeting if you have any of those the reports or updates.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks. I also go ahead. There's another hand.
No, Philip and Michael have their hands up.
Great. And before I'll give it to Michael in a second, but before Michael begins, just want to note that Jennifer has joined from CD1, Andrew Lewis has joined, and Curtis has joined, who's the alternate, I believe, of CD4. So just want to acknowledge that we have 3 new people who've just joined. Okay, Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Eli. I just have one question, Kwong. So I saw this today. While Caltrans is doing this effort to improve bike safety retroactively, it continues to push to widen highways, which have been proven to not solve anything and just increase congestion. But even worse, put stuff like this: the following bicycle facilities are proposed for future consideration within the project area, and then Caltrans goes on to list a bunch of bike lanes around a freeway they want to widen and destroy homes for. So I just don't understand. It's like we're being asked to take a lot of energy and time to help Caltrans find deficiencies in the current system, while at the same time, Caltrans is building in those same deficiencies into projects that hasn't even built yet. And I just don't understand that. So I was hoping maybe you could shed some light on the thinking.
So, I mean, Michael, without getting me into trouble, right? I will say that this document does not appear to be written by Caltrans. Is this one of the Metro projects?
It's the 2019 finding of no significant impact.
I see. So I do not have additional information on that, but to my understanding, that is one of the Metro, that might be one of the Metro Measure M or R projects.
Regardless, it's a Caltrans right away. So my point stands, like, we're being asked to opine and take energy and time to help Caltrans fix a deficient system while Caltrans continues to propose deficiencies in future projects. And it's frustrating. Like, I'm frustrated. I feel like I've spent so much time and energy trying to help Caltrans improve, only to see things like this continue to pop up. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I don't know if you have a response or if there's a project to try to correct deficiencies before they would happen in future projects.
This is a project that if this is what I'm thinking it is a Metro Measure R M&R project. So
it's a Caltrans right away. So we can go back and forth, but
yeah. We can have
if your job is to look out for bike and pedestrian safety, it's just we're ignoring it proactively in projects on Caltrans right away going forward, which is pretty frustrating.
So Kwong, because we have the pleasure of having you come to this session on a bi-monthly basis, can we ask you to do some research on what Michael's raising and come back to us? I mean, you can always email me or Jennifer, but can we ask you to do some research on this and come up with some sort of response that's a little bit more tangible than what we're getting right now? Is that something we can ask for?
I will look into it. I will see if I can provide that response.
Okay. Well, that's what we'll ask for. Thanks, Kwong. Philip, your hand was raised. I want to make sure we get to you as well.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you, yep.
Okay, so you mentioned that part of the needs assessment is comments that people provided, I guess, having looked at what you had previously provided. And I'm just wondering if you have a consistent way of integrating those comments into what your needs assessment is saying.
I'm trying to digest that right now. Your question.
So in other words, do the comments become part of the needs assessment, or are they just like, extraneous?
The comments are stored in a separate file from, because obviously, we have a map, right? A map of location-based needs. And those comments are stored in a separate map layer.
Yeah. The reason I mention that is I'm currently, my neighborhood council is currently involved in some Safe Routes to School projects. And one of the partners in developing these plans, which also go into active transportation grant applications, is a platform called Street Story, which is from UC Berkeley Safe Transportation Research and Education Center. And I wondered if you had considered that as a way of getting input from the public on your.
So I received some interference from what you're saying, but you're asking what Street Story is a way we've considered. That is something that we are aware of Street Story, and it is a possible potential method of capturing continuous and updated, comments from our members of the public and stakeholders going forward. We just have not deployed it yet. It's something that, we are aware of, but I obviously have not, deployed or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah.
We're aware of it, but it's not something we've used.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Right. And it just from my, little experience with it, it seems like it's something that it's on the shelf and ready to use. And so in other words, it might require some funding to them to, to process all your data, but it seems like it's something that's available now.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
And just for everyone's information, I put the link in the chat if you wanted to check out. It's a really great resource. So if you're unfamiliar, it is in the chat as well. Okay, I just want to welcome Kevin Burton, who just joined moments ago. Welcome, Kevin. Any other questions for Kwong or Caltrans? Great. Well, look, Kwong, we really do appreciate you taking the time in your evening. Oh, so there's another question. I missed it. Where is it? You're pointing to the Brady Bunch. Is that Glenn?
Yeah, it's Glenn.
Okay, great. Thanks. Go ahead, Glenn.
No, just if you're able to attend the meetings, every other month, you can request to be listed on the agenda for an update. I think you may have done that in the past. So, if you think there's updates or if you want to have a possibility, because that would allow discussion.
All right. What is the best email address to use to request to be on the agenda?
So you can email me, Kwong, and I'll put it back in the chat, but it's eli@la-bike.org, and I'm just the new chair. It's my first meeting out, actually, so feel free to email me anytime.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'll do some outreach, too. We actually are going to be doing outreach to the various agencies in advance of our next meeting, so expect an email from us as well.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kwong. So let's get back to the agenda. So communications. So this is an item that's related to this new email address that we want everyone to join, so that you can have emails forwarded to your personal accounts. We're trying to streamline our communication, internal communication, and also eventually share this outward facing so that different agencies and folks can email one of us and email all of us, essentially. So it's something that was proposed, I believe, at the last meeting, and thanks to Henny, she created this new Gmail address, labac.committee@gmail.com. Thanks, Glenn, for correcting that it should be committee instead of board. so we have the right nomenclature for this this new email address. And I just want to turn it over to Henny to make sure that if folks are having trouble getting their emails logged into this, that she's able to sort of present a little bit about how that goes. So Henny, can you share a little bit?
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, we are doing this labac.committee@gmail.com. The idea behind this is that if anybody emails that, it will be forwarded to your email. So I've actually sent everybody a link today. I know a few of you have already sent me the emails that you would prefer these emails to go to. Now, anytime anybody emails labac.committee@gmail, everybody will receive that email. Be really exciting. So if anybody does do that, my highest suggestion would be to reply all, so we know that whatever inquiries are coming through, they're being responded. So definitely reply all so everybody knows that you are responding. If you just do a reply to that person directly, it won't go to everybody and nobody will know. So that would be highly helpful. So at the moment, I think I only have about 7 people that have accepted the confirmation code. If you need help setting that up, please let me know or just ping me on the chat and I will send you some instructions on how to do that. But that should be up and running. And with that, I was also able to set up the YouTube channel. So we'll be able to upload our meeting videos in there. So we have them somewhere located. And of course, we'll uplink that to the website. A little bit of extra information. Any questions? Thanks for the clap.
And I just want to add one thing. This is by invitation, so this is not required, obviously, but we're inviting folks to join this list just to ease communications around the back. So thank you. Thanks, Henny, for setting that up. We make this announcement every month. I did send an email to LAPD to see if they were going to be able to send anybody. I didn't get any response. So I think next time around, we're gonna have to escalate this somehow. But unless someone is in the waiting room right this moment, we don't seem to have anybody. Oh, Curtis is waiting again. We don't seem to have anyone from LAPD. When was the last time they were here? Does anyone remember? I don't seem to remember in the last year. Anyone? Okay.
It's been more than
before COVID.
Oh, so it's before my time. Okay.
The meetings when they were in the Hollywood City Council or City Hall, Hollywood Community City Hall on Fountain. Have you been over there, Eli?
I haven't been, actually, no, not yet. It's before my time on the committee. So, okay. Well, we'll keep trying to get the right point of contact, and we'll report back. Moving on to item 7.
Eli,
oops, sorry.
You may not see the whole screen, but I've got my head.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. Since our last meeting, Assistant Chief Beatrice Grimala has retired. So we need to get a new contact comparable to her. She was in LAPD operations, and she, in chain of command, oversaw the officers that were assigned to the bicycle detail. So I do not know who her. But I know that we'll need to. Anyway,
thanks for that. Thanks, Glenn. I will do some research and find out who our new person should be. Thank you. Okay. Item 7, Metro Public Safety Advisory Committee. Just an announcement that this committee meets the first and third Wednesdays from 5 to 7 p.m. This has been a standing reminder on our agendas for a period from 5 to 7. And so, yeah, I guess, has anyone attended that meeting of late?
Last year.
Last year. Okay. Any other comment on item 7?
Well, sorry. Let me just say that they do have public, regardless of whatever is on their agenda, they do have public comment, which is why I attended, because I Part of the public safety charge of this committee also would include the theft of bicycles being parked at the various metro stations. And so I did public comment to that effect. I also did comment about bringing bikes on to the subway and some of my experiences of being harassed. So, have any public safety? You could do that, if nothing else, during the public.
Thanks, Glenn. I was just saying, perhaps we should sort of set up a round robin where we have folks who can show up to make public comment at those meetings. I don't know. Maybe that's something we can talk about in the advocacy education committee to get some representation at those meetings. Moving forward, we're getting to the BAC subcommittee reports and motions. This is the meat of the meeting in some ways. So let's start with Rob and Henny. The meeting was held on May 3rd. So take it away.
Great, thanks, Eli. There are two motions that came out. One was, and I don't know if this needs to go before the full BAC, but the desire to split our meetings into daytime and then evening time. The goal would be to get greater LADOT staff participation by having a work week date, work hour time meeting. So our motion is to split the meetings in half. So half would be, every other would be during work hours, and then evening hours would be the other part. Is there thoughts or do board members feel like that's a formal motion that the full board needs to act on or comment?
The committee chairs have discretion, right? When you
Typically,
hold their meetings.
So any concerns about trying this new model out? Let me put that out there. Okay. Oh, Jennifer, is that a concern?
Sorry, Jennifer, I see your hand. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, I was thinking about a comparison that had been made between the Pedestrian Advisory Committee and the Bicycle Advisory Committee. And I started thinking about the differences because we are really different. The pedestrians outnumber us by far. We're everybody, it's all of us plus the whole city. And we are, a very small group of people who represent another maybe what, I'm not sure, Kent, is it like 1.7% of the population rides bikes or something? Very, very small. But, 100% of the people are pedestrians. So we need to have a voice. And I think that I was thinking, yes, we should pull back. But at the same time, if we pull back, our voice becomes even smaller. So that's my concern about pulling back. And I agree with Rob in that we need to communicate with the city, the LADOT, and they used to come to our 7 o'clock meetings. So, maybe we could, see how many could come to our meetings and how many, absolutely could not. You know what I mean? Because we don't really have that many meetings compared to most people, except for the Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I found out they only have 6. So that was surprising, but they don't have subcommittee meetings and they have a lot more power than we do, quite frankly. That's how I see it.
Okay, thank you. Glenn, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I have no problems with trying that. I think it's actually a good experiment. What I do want to suggest is I have attended some of the Pedestrian Advisory Committee meetings, not all the time, but sometimes, and including, I think, probably at least once this year. They do have not only DOT, but they have a whole slew of various partner entities that come. What I wanted to recommend, though, for the consideration of scheduling is that the items that are more advocacy that don't relate to DOT that those be scheduled for the evening meetings, and that you figure out which items would be the ones that you want to have the DOT there to either lobby, for the lack of a better word, but that you spend the time working out your position when they're not there, and then once you've worked out your position or your priorities or whatever, then they're there to work on that.
Yeah, there were very much pros and cons, and we thought if we try it for a little while, a couple of meetings in, see how it goes. And your comments about being strategic about it are right on point. I know, Jennifer, I attended one PAC meeting, and it was very interesting, and hope to be able to replicate some of those practices that they utilize. So, Glenn, do you feel like this needs a formal vote, or can we just as Penny and I as chairs proceed?
I've been thinking about that because it's been years since we've changed our schedule. I think it's probably sufficient that we just noted in the minutes and that there was no objection. That's my opinion.
Mike Oven has their hand up. Go for it.
Yeah, would you all are talking about splitting the meetings? Would one of the meetings happen like during work hours? Is
Correct.
that what?
Correct. And this is just for the Advocacy and Education Committee.
Okay, just because members of the public sometimes have difficulty attending during work hours, so keeping that in mind as well. But it sounds like Metro needs to join as well, so.
Yeah, and I think Glenn made a good point of there may be some issues that are more appropriate to focus in on during our daytime meetings, and then our evening meetings would have a different strategic focus with greater public expected participation. Great, thank you all. Any other further comments? Oh, Kent?
You're on mute, Kent. I can unmute you.
Yeah. Does it need to be locked into a strict schedule, or would maybe it might be good to have some flexibility if a topic came your way that needed a daytime meeting, you could then swing that direction?
I mean, I think just for planning purposes, and I'm not a big future planner, I think it makes sense to try to alternate daytime, evening meetings, just so that just to make sure committee members know when the heck the darn meeting is. Curtis.
There it is. I hit the mute. Yeah, I got it. One of the things we talked about, though, was trying to limit the length of the meeting so that those of us that are working won't miss the meeting or be deterred from attending. So hopefully that'll be the case, that the meetings will be briefer.
The goal would be like 45 minutes, under an hour, so that those who are working during the day might be able to fit it into their schedules.
Perfect, thanks.
Any other comments?
So, Rob, the next step would be for you and Henny to kind of divine exactly what the strategy would be and present a recommendation and make the committee at large aware of the plan?
Yeah, we will. You have given us our blessing to move forward on this, and we will let you know what the future schedule for the Advocacy and Education Committees will be, so that all members and interested parties can plan accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Then you have a second motion, right, Rob or Henny?
Yeah, we are proposing that we host a retreat for the full LABAC, where we talk a little bit about best practices, history, charges, goals, and expectations, that we get together and talk about what's working and what's not, and what we want to focus on in our time together.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and so just looking for a couple of people to work with Henny and I about developing it. I've got a somewhat of an outline already, but happy to share that with folks who are interested in working on smaller group. It would also include some educational topics so that not all of us are active transportation experts or have training in that. And so part of this is some team building, getting to know what our passions and interests are as committee members, but also what is the lay of the land and how do we affect change? And what are some of the basic language kinds of things and concepts that are out there? And what do we want to, where do we see opportunity to move the city forward and this committee forward? The thought is to be a 3 to 6 hour weekend, a Saturday or Sunday. I'm happy to host it. I have an outdoor backyard area that might work well, but I'm open to other locations as well as input about the actual format. Anything else you want to add?
I wanted to say that the last time we held the retreat was back in 2018. So it's been quite a while. And maybe this would be something we can hold biannually, every other year. At least just to touch base on our missions, our goals, and obviously.
Yep. Good. Comments, reactions, thumbs up, thumbs down. What the heck are you smoking, Rob? What?
I think it's very generous that you're offering your backyard personally, and I'd like to participate in helping to explore this idea and support it in any way I can. So, do you want to get volunteers now for this task force, or what's your idea, Rob?
Yeah, I think who has interest or would like to have input to actively participate in developing this, to present it to the full board? Jennifer and Eli, anyone else? Great. We will call on others as kind of appropriate. Michael?
Mike.
Great. Great, thank you.
Not sure why my hand's not being seen.
Oh,
but,
there we go.
Yep, I see it. Thanks,
Yep.
bud.
but a couple comments.
Sorry, I was muted for just a sec. Can I jump in real quick?
Go for it.
Thanks. Due to my erratic work schedule, it would be a date-specific attendance on my part, but I would be interested in at least attending such a thing. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would ask that if you could get the agenda or the note, probably the minutes, the notes of that last retreat, and just review those as you do. If you haven't already, maybe you did that already. Number two, just a reminder that retreats are, because we're under the Brown Act, retreats are also, which means that there has to be notice, like an agenda. It can be called a special meeting because it would be out, assuming it's not the first Tuesday of every other month. You can do it as special meeting. In fact, it would be. But also there are restrictions on facility locations. So, it has to be open to the public. It has to be ADA accessible, so that the restrooms, et cetera, et cetera. So, there are restrictions in terms of where it can be held, just FYI. Oh, and one other thing, right now, at this moment, this could change tomorrow, but right now, the city of LA is not allowing any of its boards, commissions, or, committees to meet other than virtually. But again, that's subject to city council change.
Yep. I do have a accessible bathroom in the ADU, my parents' house, so I think we're covered there. And yes, the agenda and format would absolutely have to be open and Brown Act compliant. Thank you, Glenn. I have no idea where to find the retreat agenda. If you can shed any light on that, that would be great.
Well, I would have the agenda, but I think what's more important is maybe the notes of the retreat, which hopefully are on our website.
Do you know what year or month, so that if I start digging?
I'll defer to Henny. She said 2018. I believe the month was November, if I recall correctly. I just didn't know the year. So let's start with November 2018. I could definitely get you the agenda.
That narrows the search considerably. Thank you.
Great. So Rob, you can follow up with Glenn and sort of get any tips that he can provide with that. Okay, great. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to do it in person. Rob's backyard is open air. We did a lot of Healthy Streets LA. There were some meetings there that were open and in clear air. So, but again, we want to make sure that we protect everyone's health, and we'll follow public health guidelines, of course. Any other questions, comments about this idea? And again, we've so far got Jen, myself, and Mike D. And Henny up as a part of this task force, and we'll report back. Sound good? Okay. Any other business or announcements from advocacy and education?
Good. Thank you.
Oh, Henny already found it. Great. Thank you, Henny. Any other updates, Rob or Henny?
Thank
Okay,
you.
hearing none, let's move to Bikeways Engineering and Planning Subcommittee report from Kent and Jennifer. The meeting was held on May 17th.
Great. Yes, it's May 17th. We had a good meeting. I'll just take this in the order that's in the agenda here. We had a presentation from Charlie Ho with the Active Transportation Division, I believe, regarding a proposed project that they want to do for Osborne Street in Pacoima, which goes from which would run from the San Fernando Road bike path to the Hanson Dam Park. And this is a important link between those two destinations that is blighted by traffic at this time. It has missing sidewalks, very little shade, poor lighting at night, it's dark. It's basically pretty crummy, it sounds like. So this is a project to really improve that with new bikeways, sidewalks, street trees, lighting, improved intersections, and the addition of 2 new crossings, which would have some signalization alerts for motors. So it sounds like a terrific project, and we have prepared a letter of support for your consideration, and it's a motion for us to approve sending this letter of support. And I'll make the motion now and call for a second whenever anybody is in the mood. And I can then read the motion or the letter of support at this time. It's addressed to Caltrans, a Lori Walters there. And it reads, the City of Los Angeles Bicycle Advisory Committee would like to express our enthusiastic support for the Osborne Street Path to Park Access Project. This project will provide much needed improvements to this important link between a well-used bike path and a regional park and several destinations in between. Currently, this corridor is plagued with several safety hazards and impediments to non-motorized road users, including missing sidewalks, a lack of shade in dark nighttime conditions, high-speed traffic, and a lack of safe bikeways, 2 pedestrian crossings, and existing crossings that are large, hazardous, and inhospitable. The proposed bicycle pedestrian streetscape improvements will provide many co-benefits, including it improves safety conditions for vulnerable road users and adds 2 new crossing points, enhances non-motorized access to the many destinations served by the project. It addresses mobility equity issues for community members who don't own cars, provides a critical connection between local light rail and Metrolink stations. It provides urban cooling, air quality, and vehicle miles traveled reduction benefits for the community, and which also support our city's climate goals. It will vitalize a barren, traffic blighted corridor, enhancing the Pacoima community's pride of place, and it will serve as a model for improving other similarly challenged roads. Our committee presuming our committee votes unanimously to support it, I'll mention that in the letter.
I'll second it.
And that was who?
Karen.
Karen.
Thank you, Sharon. Any discussion?
Is there a link to what a map of this? Kind of any other detail on it?
We did receive a link to a presentation. I need to spend some time to find it. I can put that in the minutes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
I see Philip's got his hand up.
Philip, go ahead, please.
Hi, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, yeah, there was some apparently garbled sound when I was speaking to Kumatran. And what we're talking about here, in other words, like there's a price tag associated with it, and that can be an obstacle. So in other words, it helps to have data that shows that there's a price tag for not doing it. And so I'm just wondering if we could include any safety or information about what the current, what the result of not having all of these improvements is in terms of traffic collisions and so forth, and specifically, in other words, like something like Street Story allows people to say, what their experience is with a particular area. And so that becomes qualitative data for, demonstrating that that there is a cost of not doing it. And so I'm just wondering if there's any data like that that we could include in this letter of support that would present a case for the cost of not doing the improvements.
Yeah, I don't know where we would get that data at this point. There's a pretty short fuse on submitting this letter because the city needs to submit their application. They may already have something like that in their application. They generally, look for any supporting material that would justify projects.
I'm wondering if we could ask LADOT to give us that information to include.
Okay, I think we have to provide this to them in the next couple days, and I'm not sure I have the bandwidth to do that kind of back and forth, Phil.
Just quickly, Ken, didn't in the presentation, didn't he provide a bunch of that data and just in terms of the current state of things?
Oh, well, yes, he did mention there was a number of collisions and fatalities even in this corridor. So that is known. It is on the high injury network for the city. So, Phil, that right there, that raises it to a level, pretty high level for consideration within our city anyhow. Yeah, thanks, Eli. I forgot. It was a pretty informative presentation. It did lay out some pretty dire conditions that exist. Does anybody else recall anything about the presentation? Yeah.
It was bike week, so we were on. I was on the phone with you guys at that meeting, but he did provide a really thorough sort of report. I don't know how longitudinal it was or how many years back it went, but they definitely did the research. I mean, I guess we could ask, but to Kent's point, we need to get this letter out. It's on the clock. Is that right, Kent?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so.
So you might want to just ask him if he just has something written up he just read from that he could just send. And if you get that in time to incorporate anything, fine. I'm just going by what's on the agenda. I don't know what you have in front of you, Kent, but I just want to make sure when the communications go out that you note that the Osborne is spelled with an E at the end. So we make sure we've got the correct spelling of the street on our communications.
It's spelled correctly in other places. My apologies if I missed it.
I just corrected it. Michael, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, there's I just did a little Googling, and there's something called the LADOT.maps.arcus.com high injury network Osborne Street from Laurel Canyon Boulevard to North Avenue. It doesn't exactly state numbers, but I've just kind of been digging into it for about 30 seconds, so I haven't really discovered anything, but at least it's a thread. So.
And looking at my minutes from our meeting where he presented, I see that I made note that he mentioned there was, it sounds high, 20 pedestrian and bicycle deaths in this corridor. I'm not sure what time frame, but any time frame, that's too many. And he also cited speeding traffic, missing sidewalks, few crossings, etc. And in case I forgot to mention, it's going to be a 4 to 3 lane reduction, or road diet as it's sometimes called. Parking will be consolidated to one side. There will be protected bike lanes and bulb outs at various intersections, and 2 hawk beacon crossings. Those are triggered beacons, overhead beacons that a pedestrian calls for traffic to stop when they cross.
Okay, so are there any other comments or thoughts? Mike, I just asked you to drop the link that you were describing into the chat if you don't mind. That'd be great. Thanks, sir. Any other thoughts or comments on this before we move to the next moment in this? None. Was a motion made? Is that right?
Yes, motion was made.
It was seconded, correct, by Karen? So if I'm tracking now, we have to leave it to a vote. And so if you feel like you need to abstain because you don't have enough information, I feel like that's obviously a fair thing. Thanks for dropping the information in the chat. So should we take it to a vote?
Yes.
All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
1, 2, 3. Mike, your hand was up very quickly, but I'm going to count it. Janice, I see you. Henny, Curtis, Rob, you are not voting, and Tyler. Okay, so did you get the count, Kent?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we have a unanimous vote here for those who can vote. Yeah, it's everyone.
So that's 900.
900.
Wait, we need to have 10.
Wait, Rob said no.
Rob
said no. What?
No, he can't vote, I think is what he's saying.
No, he said he's an alternate.
Oh my God, I'm counting wrong. Okay, we better do it again.
Yeah, if it's unanimous, you need to have at least 10 because that's the form.
Okay, let's do it again, all. So 1, 2, 3, 4,
8, 9, 10. We have 10.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for doing that again, everyone. Moving on, Kent, let's move on to the Griffith Park Bikeway Safety Concerns motion.
Right. So you all are aware of, or is everybody aware of the recent fatality on in Griffith Park of a cyclist? It's spurred a lot of discussion and call for improving the safety conditions there, and the suggestions range dramatically. And recently, there was a initiative, suggestion, a proposal for a road closure pilot that was proposed by Recreation and Parks. I don't have that in front of me. Eli, do you have
It's
that
on,
handy?
it's on Facebook under the City of Los Angeles Bicycle Advisory Committee. I put it up there.
Yeah, I just wanted what's being proposed, the closure points, if we could summarize those.
Oh,
What I sent earlier today,
Yeah.
we don't have I don't think they're not there yet. They don't exist as far as I know, unless Michael Schneider, are you aware? If they have,
Yeah, it says that Griffith Park Drive at Travel Town.
yeah.
And the gate near Mount Hollywood Drive. So that is a short stretch.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's a pretty short stretch of a bikeway, kind of near literally near Travel Town, and then you go up to the part that's car free anyway. So I guess they're trying to make that whole little stretch car free. But it actually would be a good thing because it would stop people from using that to cut through the park. It's a little step in the right direction. It's not very much though.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction. I wonder if it forecloses all the cut-through corridors, like.
Let's take a look on the map if you want to see it.
It's well, I did. I couldn't figure it out looking at the map because the.
Here.
It's the access to the hosting facility.
So here is, it's right here. Travel Town is right here.
Right.
And this is where the gate to Mount Hollywood Drive is, where my cursor is. So it's this stretch of Griffith Park Drive. So it would cut through traffic on Griffith Park Drive, which then leads back into the park over here. Of course, it does nothing to address Zoo Drive.
Right. Yeah.
But
so there are some more ambitious proposals that would foreclose being able to continuously drive through on Zoo Drive and Crystal Springs, as well as a proposal that would close traffic entirely from the part of Crystal Springs where it's separated by a big median, and it would put two-way traffic on one side of the median, and the other side of the median would then be just for non-motorized traffic, including equestrians. So that's kind of on the table. There's a lot going on. It would have been great to have had the presentation from Emmett Berker tonight, but in lieu of that, I drafted a sort of generalized motion that we can consider. And I can read that or share my screen.
You have the ability to share your screen if you'd like, or you can read it. I don't know what the committee prefers. Generally, Michael puts up his motions to view, but it's up to you, Kent.
Go ahead and share my screen.
I mean, just as that's happening, if I can just say quickly, there's been a number of advocates and folks who've been meeting in various circles. There's so many different agencies, from Caltrans to the park rangers to CD4. It's a lot of it's pretty complicated. So Michael, do you want to share anything about the Caltrans conversations that we've been in, or do you want to save that for a little later?
Sure, I can briefly share. We set up a meeting with Tony Tavares, who's district director. Eli's been part of that effort. Damien from SAFE has been part of the effort, who was, of course, hit by a car and dragged down to the 5 in Griffith Park and survived. So we've been trying to understand why a park needs to have an entrance and exit to a freeway, especially when there is one 2,000 feet away on Los Feliz Boulevard to the same exact freeway. Caltrans is being Caltrans in that they seem pretty resistant to closing it, but they are willing to start the process and have the conversation, which is an important step. Right now, we're looking at road dieting the off-ramp. So it would go from 2 lanes to 1. They're also looking at potential traffic controls at the intersection of the off-ramp and Crystal Springs. But they also rightly point out that the crux of this is recs and parks within the city of LA. And that's really where the safety improvements need to come. You know, if I could wave a wand, we would close Crystal Springs to cars and people could bike there or walk there or take a bus there and then enjoy the park. But anyway, those are the conversations with Caltrans, trying to take care of the entrance and exit to the 134, or sorry, to the 5, and close it off to cars.
Thanks, Michael. We also learned that ramp is closed at night, right? It's like, didn't Damien share that? Like, it already deals with daily closure, so it's not even that big an ask.
Yeah, and I pitched kind of a crazy idea to them as we were ending our Zoom last time. I said, look, if it's already closed at night, I didn't know that. I just learned about that at the Zoom meeting. Why don't you guys just leave it closed for 2 weeks or a month or a week? And they're very worried about impacts and congestion and all that stuff. But if you left it closed, you could try to study the impacts of what might happen, or you can just do it for a week. You know, things are closed for construction all the time, and measure the impacts that way, the inverse impacts. And if nothing changed that much, then you know that the ramp isn't a sorely needed thing, and we can make a case to the feds to close it.
Michael?
Go ahead, Jen.
Yeah, I just posted in the chat what that road closed information was, Michael. They said they did close it. It will be closed and locked. Exempt vehicles okay. This is on 614. So on 614, the gates on Griffith Park Drive at Traveltown and the gates near Mount Hollywood Drive will be closed and locked.
Yeah,
That's
we
the
just went,
pilot closure that Reclam Parks
So
has
you know
proposed.
that, but you're talking about more. Is that what you're saying? What?
Yeah, Michael is.
Well, it says here. It says wrap
Jennifer,
is.
We just went through that on the map. What you're talking about.
But it sounds
what I'm
like
talking about is no, it's 614. That's in a week. But what I'm talking about is the fact that the 5 freeway has an entrance and exit onto Crystal Springs Drive, and we are trying to convince them that a park does not need an entrance and exit to a freeway.
Yeah,
so
I see
that's
that.
what I'm talking about. It's on the other side of the park.
But it says RAP is looking to see if by closing the road, they can eliminate cut through freeway traffic and excessive speeding. So somehow Recs and Parks thinks they're already handling your question. So maybe we do need to address it more directly to them.
Well,
it sounds like they think that it's going to do whatever you're saying. You're saying Traveltown and Mount Hollywood is enough or not enough, and they're saying that they already think that that's enough. So I'm not sure, what.
Well, we're really talking about 2 separate things here.
So that's not going to stop any kind of expressway traffic, freeway traffic. Is that right?
And not the pilot closure that closes the gates within the park area. What Michael is referring to are the off ramps, the freeway that feed right into there, which are in a different area altogether, and it's sort of a separate strategy.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. Okay, I can't understand their article. That's all. I thought they figured that out.
So I move that we take a look. Sorry, Kent, you pulled down your language. It's sort of a blanket statement about why are we having cut through traffic or cars in the park. I thought it's so if we can put it back up, Ken, if you don't mind. Let's decide whether we feel like this is a motion that has the teeth and is well researched enough and does the job. We're getting notes that shorter is better from some of the folks that we're here that are giving us feedback. But in any event, Kent, would you read your motion, please, so that those of us who are on the phone can hear it?
Yes.
I don't
Motion
think anyone's on
regarding
the phone,
Griffith Park.
actually.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought
Yeah.
there was. Curtis phone.
Danny.
Oh, Curtis, are you not? You're not, but you're here as well. Okay, great. So we can all read it for ourselves. Go ahead, Michael.
I have a suggestion. I'd like this to have a bit more teeth. Rather than just leaving it vague, like protect vulnerable road users' physical changes, why don't we say, given we're the Bicycle Advisory Committee, why don't we say something like implementing physically protected bike lanes throughout the park and taking steps to limit cut-through traffic or cars.
And we're also getting notes in the chat. So are there other hands raised or no? So
Curtis.
Curtis, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Michael. I don't see any reason to be so soft on these things. I think the letter needs to say that these tragedies need to end. It needs to be very, very clear. We're all highly sensitized to unnecessary death, particularly these days with all the gun stuff going on. And to soft pedal it is just going to put it on the back burner and or be ignored. If we want anybody to really pay attention, I think we need to be a lot more assertive.
You certainly can be. It was left a little open-ended because there were potential, there was a number of measures being considered and we weren't sure which ones we wanted to mention yet. But if we want to come up with some more definitive ones, we certainly can.
Yeah, I can, and I want to acknowledge the fact that this is a developing story. I mean, literally, Michael set up the next meeting with Caltrans for the middle of July. There's this other movement that's happening, and they wanted to push it all the way till August. So it is a developing story. This sort of leads us to this other conversation about like how to make sure that our motions. And thanks, Kent, for taking the lead of drafting these. But what's the process? And this is something I want to sort of figure out with the committee chairs. What's the process to really develop these motions, research them, and give them the best chance to make impact? So maybe this is a sidebar conversation that I can, if there's folks that are interested in helping us develop that process, I'd really like to make this a resource for those types of motions to be researched and put together so they have the greatest impact. I just want to note, Kent, that Glenn in the chat said it should be called the Department of Recreation. It should be flipped, Department of Recreation and Parks, not Recreation and Parks Department. So if you can make that quick change. So, I'm also aware that it's now 10 till 8. Are we in a position? This is a super important, and it's not going to go away anytime soon, based on the conversations we've had with Caltrans. Do we want to give this more time to develop a stronger statement, or is time of the essence and we need to get something out fast? Does anyone have an opinion on that?
I think we should get this out. We can always write another one. It's timely.
Mm-hmm.
Kent hasn't finished his paragraph.
No, I haven't. I'm waiting for language.
Oh, okay.
There's also 3 hands up.
Okay, let's do it. Sorry, I'm falling down on my job here. Let me get to the chat. So I'm sorry, why can't I see? Okay, there we go. I'm not sure who raised their hand first, so who would like to speak first? I'm sorry.
Philip has his hand up first.
Philip, go ahead.
Oh, yes, thanks. Again, for every argument that we make in favor of, road diets and so forth, there are going to be other people who are going to make arguments against it. And so I think that we need to put in more data as far as, okay, hazards posed to cyclists riding on the roads within Grivic Park. Does everybody know what that means? And if not, then it should have more details than that. And, I mentioned Street Story earlier, and that's a tool that can, empower the public to provide their qualitative data. And I'm just making up another plug for that.
Thanks, Philip.
Mike?
Yeah, pretty brief. You guys want to slow down cars in Griffith Park? Put speed bumps in. That's the only thing I've ever found that alters people's speed. Everything else is just kind of, nothing.
Curtis?
Yeah, I'm a believer that time is essential. Time is of the essence when it comes to safety, particularly in that area. I use Griffith Park quite a lot, and it's pretty appalling at times. If it were up to me, I would let Kent, Michael, and Eli write a letter that they think is complete and correct, and the rest of us simply defer. Because if we send this to committee and back and forth, we won't get it out until the end of the summer. And this needs to go out right away. So I'm an alternate. I know Tyler's in the meeting. If it were up to me, someone should amend the motion or make a motion to let those three people write the letter as they see fit and get it out.
We have a motion on the floor, but I also see another hand with Jennifer. Do you want to make a comment quickly, Jennifer?
Now I'm afraid, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think I'm on. I was thinking of stoplights at those freeway entrances and exits, because there aren't anything. There are no stoplights in the whole park at any intersection. And I don't know if we should mention that or not, but right now I've ridden my bike through there, and I know people just jet out from the freeway. People are coming down the hill on the other side. And then I'm riding in Crystal Springs, and I'm like, okay, who's gonna jump out? Who's gonna let me go? Even though there are stop signs there, I don't think the stop signs are working. So that would be where, for Michael's point, for the freeway part, if they don't want to close it, they could put stop signs.
Thanks, Jennifer. So, Glenn, I'm going to defer to you on this. What, in terms of Curtis's recommendation that the committee make a motion that would allow, I don't even know what the language is, that would allow yourself or Kent, Michael, me, and maybe I'll nominate Curtis since he's a lawyer, to just sort of be in a quick task force to write a more pointed letter. Is that something that we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, a recommendation from committee, we consider that recommendation. If the motion was, as I understand it, Kent, was not actually voted on in committee, clarify that, but the wording was written by Kent, that's fine, we can consider that. But basically we take a position, and then you and your team can, with this, whomever, but definitely I would think the subcommittee chair can implement that position by promulgating a letter. We don't have to have the letter. I know some neighborhood councils and some entities like to have the full thing, but that, already written up ahead of us. And but there's no rule, and we do that. Mainly Michael, he writes this stuff up and it's ready for us, but we don't always do that, and there's no rule that we have to do that.
Kent was kind enough to grant me control of his computer, so I just took a stab at putting some more teeth and being more specific here. I don't know if you guys want to consider this, or if we still feel we need to workshop this offline.
Michael, read it. Would you mind just reading it so people can absorb it, please?
Sure. Why don't I read the changes? So where it says meaningful steps to address the situation, including but not limited to lowering prevailing traffic speeds, reducing cut-through traffic, and considering making most of the park car-free, implementing physically separated bike lanes, and taking steps to dramatically slow down cars throughout the park. And then I added, further, we support the road closure pilot program recently proposed by the Department of Recreation and Parks, and ask that it be expanded to more roads throughout the park. So it's just a bit more specific.
Yeah, and just to respond to Glenn, at the subcommittee where we talked about this and recommended that an action be taken in the full BAC, we left it intentionally vague. It was just sort of a placeholder motion.
And we were hoping that Mehmet was going to come too, right, Kent?
Yeah, well, we discussed inviting Mehmet. Yeah.
To add more specifics. Thank you, Michael, for those adjustments. What does the committee feel? Do we need discussion on this, or do we feel like we can restart the motion process to the vote.
Could I just put in one more suggestion about the stoplights? Further, we support the road closure pilot program recently proposed by the Department of Rec and Parks and ask that it be expanded to more roads throughout the park and/or stoplights at these intersections. Just for the heck of it. I mean, they could say no.
I think that's getting into a level of detail that we don't want to get into for this, the scope of this motion, Jennifer. I think we will get to those sort of design elements at some point if this moves forward.
Well, you're talking road closures. That's no stoplight. That's like, you're saying stop, no more cars. I think that's extreme. Anyway.
There's also a typo. Is that what I'm seeing?
Been corrected.
Okay, great.
Oh, the first throughout hasn't been corrected. Sorry. First paragraph at the end, throughout the park, that one hasn't been.
Well, Curtis has a motion on the table that hasn't been seconded yet. Curtis, if you feel this draft language here is could be the basis for what you would like to designate Eli, Michael, and myself to draft, then we could cite this in the motion, cite this as the motion, and either just ship it as is or work on it further if we need to.
Do we have a second for Curtis's motion to give us those powers to move ahead with this? Do we have a second?
If not, I'll make.
Actually, Curtis said, since he's not the voting member, he would suggest it. So it would take someone to make the motion.
I would make the motion as CD4.
I'm sorry, who said that? I'm sorry.
Tyler.
Tyler, thank you, Tyler. So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Glenn.
Okay.
Glenn, thank you for seconding. And then I see that there was a hand up.
It was mine.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I'll just make it brief. My view is that we're supposed to be collaborating with city departments. I think we're getting too far in the weeds as to the contents of the letter, whether it's stop signs or whatever, bumps. That'll be discussed quickly down the road, hopefully. The letter needs to make a statement and to tell them that we are intending to collaborate with them to come up with a quick solution. That's my opinion.
So adding language about sort of an invitation to collaborate. Is that what you're saying, Curtis? I want to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, I wouldn't make an invitation. I would make it a little bit more insistent, but be polite. Correct. But look, you guys will work on the letter, but I just wanted to make sure that I just said what I had said. That's all.
Okay, so we have a letter of support, or rather a motion that is a recommendation to the city, and the motion. Somebody's got getting an echo. Okay, so the motion needs to reflect that this is kind of a document that's going to be refined and then sent. So unless we're just going to approve this as it is, we need a motion that states that. So Curtis, I need some more language from you that describes what the actual motion is.
Well, subject to Tyler from CD4, I would say that the committee approves the letter in concept, and that we're deferring to a subcommittee of Eli, Kent, and Michael to modify the letter as they see fit based upon our comments and to send it as quickly as possible.
Guys, why don't we just vote on this letter? Let's just keep it simple.
Yeah, that's my inclination too, but I think Curtis is feeling something is missing. This is hard writing letters by committee. This is why we want to set up a different process for these motions, right? So we're going to get that in place. But I say let's move with purpose. We're talking to Caltrans right now. Like the more we can raise awareness around this issue and to cut through traffic, I think the better. And be careful about allowing perfection to be the enemy of progress, right? So that would be my perspective. So I'd like to put a different motion on the floor to approve this letter and keep moving. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Eli,
Yes.
you're just gonna send it out as is? Is that what you're saying, or you're gonna fix it? Right
We're
now,
talking
there's
about
there's
voting
still a
with the letter
mistake.
as is.
Well, throughout is still wrong. Throughout the first paragraph, bottom line is still wrong. The spelling. That's what I'm asking are we approving it
Ken,
as
can you
is?
fix that typo?
Yeah.
Throughout, THROUGH.
Looking for throughout.
It's the last sentence.
Last
of the first
sentence.
Oh,
First paragraph.
Last sentence, first paragraph.
give me the correct
No,
spelling.
that's correct.
Oh,
Just copy that.
oh, okay.
The first throughout.
As we're trying to figure out how to spell this, Tyler's got his hand raised. So Tyler, do you have another comment?
Yes, just as a point of order, I am in full favor of this new motion, but there was already a motion on the floor. Do we have to vote on that, or are we moving past that?
Hint, the first paragraph, last line.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
I got it.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
Yay,
Sorry, I just
that's the
didn't
only
see it.
one I see, but if I'm asking if this is gonna go as is, that's all I'm asking.
Unless we spot any obvious typos. Yes.
So I think Tyler raises a good point. We did have a motion made and seconded. On the
That's
floor.
right. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. So the first motion was to go ahead.
And I'm happy to withdraw it if that is acceptable, because I think this new motion is a better course of action, but I just didn't want us to get us in trouble.
Right. Thank you, Tyler. So in this case, what do? Do we vote on the first motion, or can we? Glenn, go ahead.
It's Tyler's hand that's up, but if Tyler offered to withdraw the first motion, the seconder concurs, and there's no objection, then I guess we go to the motion you've stated, just to move things along.
Great. And then maybe to add those teeth that Curtis and others are looking for, I just saw that Glenn generously shared that the next Board of Recreation and Park Commission meeting is happening on June 16th. So maybe we can just actually voice this letter and add some other comments there as well. So we'll put that on our notes. Okay, is there a to vote to pass this motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I would second.
Okay.
Great, thanks, Tyler. You got the second. So all in favor, please say aye, or actually, please raise your hand so we can do the count. Kent, I'm assuming you're yes. Okay, I got you, Kent. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Janice, I don't see you. Oh, I see your hands waving. Henny, is your hand raised? It's not.
Can we stop screen sharing?
Oh yeah, that would help. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got.
One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Michael, your hand was raised. 8. Any nays? Any abstentions? 1 from Henny that I see.
I counted 9 yes. I'm not sure if you were counting.
9 yes, 0 nays, 1 abstention. That makes 10, right?
Right. 9 plus 1. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were counting Tyler because he had a virtual hand up.
Oh,
Yes, I did. I apologize.
so is the total count 901?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move. Thanks, everyone. Stretching
Eli,
network
it didn't
update.
pass though. It didn't pass, right?
Yeah.
Did?
9
Yes,
yeses
it passed.
passes.
Yeah, 9 yeses.
Glenn, I thought we had to have 10.
For unanimous.
No, no, I didn't see.
You have
I
to have
didn't
10
see.
for
Sorry.
quorum.
That's why yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
Just need a majority.
I didn't say unanimous. Let's move. Are we ready to move on? Okay, great. Next item. The stress-free network update. Any updates there, Kent? Oh, you're muted, sir. Or
No
Jen?
updates on the stress-free networks. Let me check. I don't think we had any updates on LA River closures at our last meeting.
Okay.
So
It's open, as far as I know, as of a couple of weeks, it's all the way open. From Victory down to Riverside.
yeah. And so then the last item is regards our request that the BAC be copied on any invitations to the community members to participate in meetings regarding where bikeways are involved. And we discussed this with city staff, and they agreed that they would copy us. They told us to be aware that we could see an awful lot of meeting notices. We decided to go ahead with it anyhow and see how it goes. Does somebody have a phone or a second device open that's leaking into their unmuted microphone? Okay, good. It's getting an echo, makes it hard to talk. So yeah, that's we should be seeing those notices from the city soon. If we don't, we need to check and make sure that staff is in fact following through as they told us they would. And I believe that unless there's anything on the repaving schedule you want us to know about, Michael? No, okay, well, we're done with the bikeways and planning subcommittee report. Eli.
Thanks, Kent. Okay, so LACBC updates. Like Michael shared, we're participating in the conversations around how to address cut-through traffic in Griffith Park. There's a number of ongoing conversations with CD4, with this Caltrans conversation that Michael's convening with Damian Kevitt. So there's more news to come. We just learned of a potential press conference that might be coming up, but we don't have details on it, so I'm not going to get into it today. LACBC also, historically has hosted the LA River Ride, would have been our 20th season, but we decided to change the ride. We're looking to reboot it in the fall in a totally different format, but I will share that and with plenty of advance notice. And in terms of the chapters, we've actually identified a new chapter liaison for our staff to work with the local chapter leadership. Unfortunately, our last hire ended up having to leave suddenly, and so we're replacing that resource and hope to build more power with our chapters. So those are some very high-level updates on the state of that organization. Obviously, LAUSD just ended its session, so all of our bike education classes are now on summer break, and so we're catching a bit of a pause is probably the biggest in terms of education programs. Also want to make note, in case you were unaware, the Metro Best program, which is the bicycle education safety training program that has been around for the last 3 years, designed to support first last mile bicycle commuters using transit is sunsetting in June, and there's been no sense of whether there's going to be a replacement for that program to help people mode shift away from driving to getting on bikes to use transit. And so we are imploring Metro in every way we can to make sure that they not only extend the lines, but support the programming that would help facilitate people making that shift from cars to mass transit using bikes as first last mile options. And so it's a bit of a sad moment for that program to be sunsetting, but that's what's happening. So yeah, a lot of the bike education, a lot of the bike programming is starting to come up in terms of our community rides as well, but that one is sunsetting. So I think that's pretty much what I have for LACBC. I'll prepare something more in detail next time, but yeah, I'll defer to Michael now to share about Streets for All.
Thanks, Eli. So a few things. Venice Boulevard is starting to get really interesting. Streets for All unveiled a plan called Venice Boulevard for All about 2.5 years ago. And the first section would be in Palms with protected bike lanes, dedicated 24/7 bus lanes, parking, and 2 lanes of vehicle traffic. So it would be a very complete street. And potentially it would expand east to Fairfax and possibly further west. So, and this would all be done this year. So we'll see what happens, what DOT announces, what council offices announce, but very excited about Venice Boulevard. And it would be the first complete street in the city of Los Angeles outside downtown, which would also be really exciting. Ballona Creek, the effort to extend the bike path east is making progress, and I expect a motion at City Council sometime soon, directing the Bureau of Engineering to actually take up this project to make it a real thing. Hopefully Caltrans will be giving some right of way that's needed to make the project happen. We've already had those discussions, and I'm excited about that. Healthy Streets LA, it's almost there. We expect to collect the required number of signatures by June 21st. And we're going to do something fun on the 24th with hopefully a press conference and our about 30 boxes of people's signatures in front of the city clerk, possibly with the council president. We'll see if she can make it. But she has introduced a motion at City Council to have the city attorney draft an ordinance based on Healthy Streets LA. It's a little complicated. We want her motion and we also want ours to be adopted. So we kind of want a merger of the two, and we're working to make that happen. If City Council adopts Healthy Streets LA as an ordinance, they cannot change it without going back to the voters. So there's a very high bar to not mess with the mobility plan in the future. So we really want to have that level of protection for the concept, given how much money, energy, blood, sweat, and tears have gone into it. 2 happy hours coming up, one tomorrow with the Vice Mayor of Burbank, Constantine Anthony. That'll be at 5 p.m. via Zoom. And next month, July 13th, we're going to have Supervisor Hilda Solis, who of course is a Metro board member as well. That'll be July 13th at 5 p.m. Two more things. DOT has been doing this thing that I love. It's so simple. They have been installing bollards across major intersections where cars illegally go straight or make left turns when they're only supposed to make a right turn. They recently did this at Lexington and Cahuenga, which is very meaningful to me because I bike my kids down Lexington to school on Bronson. So I cross this intersection every day. Almost gotten hit many times by cars doing illegal stuff. The problem's gone away. Cut through traffic has gone way down, and the problem's gone away through thanks to 10 plastic bollards, which probably cost, I don't know, $400 to install. So I've also seen this treatment at Waring and Highland, and they seem to be doing it more and more. And it's just amazing for less than $1,000, the impact you can have on cut through traffic and bike safety. Lastly, I just wanted to show everybody really quick the state measures, because there's just so much going on, and I'll run through these incredibly fast. I don't want to take too much time. But we have sponsored 20 state bills and authored a bunch of them this year, and 17 are still active. Only 3 have died in committee. This one rewards cities that build out bike and pedestrian infrastructure and address their high injury network and penalize the cities that don't. This one would authorize noise cameras. I don't know about you, but I'm tortured by illegally loud exhaust from motorcycles and cars. I'm trying to get the city of LA to be a pilot city. There'll be 6 pilot cities. Whoops, sorry about that. So we'll see what happens there. This would standardize leading pedestrian intervals at intersections and instruct Caltrans to put them at all state highways, which of course in the city of LA includes Santa Monica Boulevard at different places, Alvarado, Lincoln, and a few other places. This, along with the illegally loud exhaust, would add a muffler inspection to smog checks. This unfortunately died, but it would have expedited bus shelters. This forgives parking fines for people experiencing homelessness. This allows cyclists to yield at stop signs. This bill was vetoed by the governor last year. This year, we think we have a shot because the author changed it to 18 and over. So it's not ideal, but we think that might be enough to get the governor not to veto it again, and we'd have an Idaho safety stop in California. This bill is so exciting, it would essentially end freeway widening in California, and Caltrans couldn't keep doing what they're doing with Metro, and unlock a lot of money for active transportation and transit. This bill is a bicycle omnibus bill and would, among other things, require cars to use a full lane when passing cyclists, if a full lane is available. Clarifying the law that cyclists can use pedestrian walk signals. Right now, that's a gray area in the law. It would also prohibit cities from banning e-bikes on bike paths and from mandating bike licenses. The city of LA doesn't mandate bike licenses, but there's a lot of cities in California that do. This is free transit for younger people. This would remove parking minimums within a half-mile transit stop, decriminalizing jaywalking, make cities plan for sustainability. I think this might have died in committee, unfortunately. This is such an important bill, exempt bike projects and bus projects from CEQA. So it really speed things up. This died in committee. Speed cameras, still not happening. Aligned state transportation plans with greenhouse gas emissions. This was just announced this week. I'm so excited about it. If you're car light or car free, you get a tax rebate. So just like you get a tax rebate if you buy an electric car, we thought that people should get a rebate for doing what's even better for the environment, which is not owning a car at all. So $2,500 per person, up to $7,500 for 3 adults in a household while living car free. And lastly, a task force to increase funding for public transit. So there's a lot going on. We have an all volunteer state team that's really kicking ass, but just pay attention. At some point, these will need support as they go through the Senate and Assembly, and especially with the governor. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. So earlier in the meeting, Kevin Burton was joined our meeting and but a little bit late, and he had some public comment that he wanted to share. So I think, Kevin, this is the right moment, actually, right now. If there's no, let's see, what's the language that I use here? If no one has any, oh boy, man, my thing is so long. Glenn, what was the language? What do I have to say? If there's no objection, can we allow Kevin Burton to share public comment this time? Is there any objections? Seeing that there's none, Kevin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Eli, for letting me speak. I'm Kevin Burton, and I'm the co-founder of the West Hollywood Bicycle Coalition, which is a local chapter of LACBC, as Eli mentioned. There are a number of us. The city of West Hollywood is collaborating with the city of LA in a traffic calming pilot project. And I just wanted to update the committee on that, since this is in your purview as well. I last spoke to the committee about this at the end of last summer. You have a number of new members since then. And congratulations, Eli, for assuming the chairmanship of this committee. The traffic calming project is on Willoughby Avenue, the city limit of LA and West Hollywood. It's right down the middle of portions of that street. So the two cities are collaborating, which provides a number of opportunities and challenges, each has its own bureaucracy. At the moment, there are 3 what you might call quick build features on Willoughby. They're called temporary installations. A traffic circle, which is very common in the city of West Hollywood, not so much in the city of LA. Curb extensions with bollards and little bumps on the street to slow down turns. Traffic circles slows down through traffic. And lastly, a diverter to actually move traffic off this residential street. This is being done because, as with parts of Griffith Park, it has become a very highly used cut-through street between arterials. And in 2018, 3 bicyclists were hit, 3 different intersections. Pedestrians have been hit, and it's a problem. And so City of West Hollywood is leading this and has put in these 3 quick build features to gather information, to gather feedback from the community. And there's a website, which I will put the URL in the chat just on that. If anyone's interested in commenting on these features, you can go to that website, submit comments via the website. There's a way to submit comments by text. There will be virtual community meetings, both for residents of LA and West Hollywood. And I would urge anyone with an interest in this experiment to support these traffic calming measures, because there's already community pushback on part of the people, some who live there, some cut through, who will attempt to kill the effort. And just as a kind of a forewarning to the city of LA Dot and you folks, these traffic calming measures, which are just temporary, they may be moved to other intersections, they won't necessarily stay where they are, will probably have implications in terms of pushing traffic to other streets, one of which might be a parallel residential street in LA. And that might require traffic calming on this additional street. And LA Dot, since it's entirely in LA, would then have to take that up as something that CD5 representatives should be aware of, that will probably be coming down the pike. Likewise, these are at one end of this cut through stretch that's West Hollywood is part of. The other end, again, is entirely City of LA, and it should have similar traffic calming measures. And since that's entirely in the City of LA, the LA folks, LA Dot, will have to deal with that. And the appropriate representatives of this committee, as well as LA Dot, should consider dealing with that in the future if LA and West Hollywood move forward with traffic calming on the portion of that street that is jointly administered by the 2 cities. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. And thanks for sharing the links. We'll take a look at it. And then Michael, you just added something. If you want to email a public comment and want to template, here is a link as well. Great. Let's get back to our agenda. We're getting close, everyone, I believe. So now we move to bicycle-related council file. I just thank Rob for doing a little bit of research earlier this week to make sure that the expired council motions our council files are going to be shifted out. But are there any comments on the council files that need to be made, or any updates that people have for the committee? Glenn, I see your hand.
Yeah, the first one that's listed is the one that Michael was referencing, which is the Nuri Martinez motion. And based on what Michael is saying, I think it'd be in order that we could support that. And I don't know if there'd be any additional qualifying wording that anyone would want, but anyway,
I would ask that we hold off. Not that I don't want to support it, but that it needs a few changes, and it's probably going to be amended in both Public Works and Transportation. So rather than just blindly supporting it as is, I would love us to support what is hopefully a really strong amended version. There's plenty of time for us to do it. This probably won't come up for a vote for a while.
Okay, well, we can say support if amended or whatever, but that's fine. Which committee should this go to? Subcommittee, so that they could work on, I mean, that could be advocacy and education, I suppose. So they could work on some wording to bring back to the full BAC for our next meeting.
I don't know the wording yet is the thing. I don't know what amendments Mike Bonin's going to propose or Bob Blumenfield. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes. So it's tough for me to be more specific with wording. I would just ask, I want us to support this, but I would just ask that we don't do it yet.
So Michael, can we rely on you to give us an update when the time has come?
Absolutely. And I think I will have more specifics before our next meeting in 2 months. And we've gotten 41 neighborhood councils to support this thing. So once we know what we're doing, we'll roll that out to, and the BAC has written a letter of support. So we'll roll it out to everybody that's written a letter of support with specific asks, and the committee can consider it.
Great. Thanks, Michael. We'll rely on you to do that. So
I would ask, though, that this be agendized during July for one of the subcommittees and see where we stand at that point. If we've got any information from folks, or if we have the best, I mean, I don't know that we need to have the exact wording that Bonin or whoever's going to be doing, but if we had any amending wording from Michael or whomever, that, you know, we maybe revisit that in July. I'd like to avoid happening what happened tonight, where we're editing a motion on the screen. It'd be better to have that done in committee. Thank you.
I am happy to make sure we don't do that in August and have a draft ready to go so the committee can consider it.
Great. And if you could workshop that, Michael, in the subcommittee, just so that it's ready to, it's all the sort of wordsmithing is done, that would be greatly appreciated. Great. Okay. Moving on. Anything else that needs to be stated? And Glenn, thank you for making us aware of that council file. You were the one who sent it to me, so thank you, Glenn. Moving on. Anything else that needs to be discussed in this section, section 11? Scanning, seeing none. I'm going to keep going. That's okay. Moving to item 12, BAC reports and announcements. This is the opportunity for different committee members to share updates from their district. So if you have a district-specific update or comment, this is the time to share it.
Item 12 said review new meeting start time.
Did I miss something? Oh, I went too fast. Oh, right. So that's a mistake. Sorry, that should not have been there.
Okay.
I think the idea was at some point tonight to think about the 6:30 start time. It's now 8:30. We're getting close to the end of the meeting. I guess maybe just as a general open thumbs up, thumbs down, and this sort of informal. How do people feel about the 6:30 start instead of the 7 o'clock start? Are people feeling like that's working for most of us? Anyone who sort of feels like this was too early a start? I know that Kevin Burton, I'm sorry that we didn't that we didn't communicate that well enough, but personally, for me, it's whatever. Any comments on this? I should just open it up to the floor. Was 6:30 good for folks to get through the meeting more quickly? I'm seeing thumbs up and general nods and some smiles. So anyone want to make comment on this, or can we? It's just sort of a check-in more than anything. Okay, then we will hold the 6:30 start time. Oh, Glenn, go ahead.
Yeah, it's fine. I think once folks get used to organizing their lives accordingly, but it may be an issue at some point in time when we start meeting in person. But that may be a while.
Understood and point taken. Thank you, Glenn. So we'll keep the 6:30 start time just as a reminder for all of you. That's the idea. Thank you for calling that out, Glenn. So now to 13, I guess this is where people make reports on your specific council district. Are there any notes or any announcements or news to share from your specific district?
Oh.
Hi, Rob. Go for it.
I got to find my. The Mar Vista Farmers Market reopened their bike valet and free repair stand. So if you're in the Mar Vista area on Sunday and you need your bike looked at, feel free to stop by. It's located, the bike stand is by the laundromat between Grandview and Pacific Avenue. So an exciting new service for the community.
Thanks, Rob. Any other CD updates? And by the way, I'd love to get to the point where everyone's got lots to share in this little kind of round robin, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Any other updates from your specific council district? I just want to share quickly that I don't know if Janice is still with us, that in Bloomingfield's district, there was a ribbon cutting ceremony that happened between our last meeting and this meeting that she and I attended. And it was just a really great celebration for the headwaters of the LA River Path in Canoga Park by Canoga Park High School. It was a really nice affair. One of those rare moments as a bicycle advocate where we felt seen and acknowledged and loved. It was great. It was great. They did a bike ride afterwards, and if you haven't tried that reach of the river, it's very nicely constructed. And Janice, I don't know if she's still here, but she really did a nice job of creating a moment there. So I just want to share that from not my own district, but a district that I got a chance to be a part of. So any other updates?
Anyway, I'll just update that update to just say that the day after we met, one of my coworkers used that to shorten his commute to work by bicycle. So that was really awesome. And then also, I'm going to be leaving you visually. I'm going to try to take you along in my pocket, but hopefully Councilmember Bloomfield, who's been very, very supportive of bicycling in the city, is being reelected, and we're celebrating tonight. So thank you. And I'm going off camera.
Thanks, Janice. I think all of our voting work is done. Yes, go ahead, Kent. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to say we got some shiny new protected bike lanes on Manchester Boulevard in Westchester. And these went in immediately after the street was resurfaced, which is exactly the way it's supposed to happen. And that's the point of the Healthy Streets LA initiative, is for that sort of implementation to occur on the heels of resurfacing. So very happy to see it. We want more of that.
Thanks, Kent. These are important stories. We got to start talking about our victories so we can start building momentum. Any other updates from other council districts throughout the city? I'll just share one. Oh, go ahead. Thanks, Karen, please.
Oh, I just put something in the chat because I got an email about it today, and I haven't had a chance to see exactly what all is involved, but it looks like they're inviting public input on planning for Valley Corridor project.
Thanks for sharing that link, Karen. It's great. Any other announcements? Last call. We can keep moving. I'll just say that last month was Bike Month. I should have mentioned this earlier. Many groups, including Active SGV, People for Mobility Justice, and LACBC hosted bike pit stops. We did one in Culver City with our friends out there, which was fabulous. We did one in West Hollywood, hosted by Kevin Burton, with partners Lime, Scooters. It was just fun to get back in person. So we did some bike to school stuff as well. So I'll do a better job of sharing out some of the programming that LACBC is involved in. So much infrastructure, we need to create the built environment, but we also need to cultivate the culture. So I'll do a better job of sharing that out into this committee, and that's on me. So happy Bike to Work Month and World Bicycle Day, which is a new UN day. It's like it's year 3 that the UN put this together, and it's on June 3rd, if you weren't aware. It just happened on Friday. Any other upcoming meetings, events, rides that people want to share? Go ahead, Glenn.
I put into the chat about Ride the Colt, Sunday, June 12th, 9 a.m. It leaves from the Chatsworth Train Depot, which is a Metrolink, and the Orange Line terminus. So you can take, what's a Sunday, so I guess you can't take Metrolink, but you can definitely take the Orange Line if you wanted to get there. Anyway, it's free. I put the link into chat as far as registering. They do provide lunch and usually a little breakfast snack. And the map takes you down the Orange Line bike path all the way to approximately Pierce College, and then you go up on, head north via, mostly it's residential streets, paralleling, I think, with like Winnetka. And then you have options to even get up into Porter Ranch if you want to have a longer ride. Anyway, you're not doing anything that Sunday morning. It's a good ride. So this will be the first time they've had it since COVID, and so it'll be interesting what their turnout is. They usually have about 1,000 people that show up. Thanks.
Apologies about my volume. I will get my AirPods charged next time. It'll be better for everyone. I apologize. Any other announcements about events or rides coming up? Hearing none, this is a tradition that I've always really appreciated when Glenn was chair, that we generally adjourn in memory of someone. But actually, I want to take a pause before the entire committee and just thank you, Glenn, for being the chair of the LABAC for so long, the vice chair, for all your support as I'm trying to figure out how to run this meeting well. So thank you, Glenn. You really, let's give him a round of applause or silence. He really deserves our acknowledgement and gratitude. Glenn, we're so glad that you were our leader and also that you continue to be engaged and such an active member. So thank you, Glenn.
Thank you for stepping up. Really appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure so far. We'll see how we go. But yes, great. And so we usually adjourn in memory of some of our losses in the community. And I'm sure there's many, many more. If you follow Biking in LA, Ted Rogers' blog, it's kind of like a hard thing to deal with sometimes because it's so many. But basically, I wanted to sort of share these two. We discussed Andrew Gelmert a number of times this evening, who was struck and killed in Griffith Park after completing a training ride for the AIDS life cycle. There's a little blurb that I put in the bottom of the agenda if you want to read it. And then a week or so later, 10 days later, a baker riding to work early morning was killed in front of his brother by a guy who had stolen a car, a Jeep. And so the work that we're doing here is life and death. It's that important. And I'm just grateful to be a part of this community. And we have to keep on keeping on. There's just so much that we need to do. So thank you for making the time this evening. We are 12 minutes over our sort of planned time, but I feel like we had a good meeting. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, August 2nd. The committee chairs, I sent an invite to you all today to do a pre-meeting so we can really work on the agenda and make sure we're not missing anything a week before meeting. And so if you haven't taken that, seen that, I see you, Jen, I'll give you the floor in a second. If you haven't responded to that, would love to.
It's about that. The date is the wrong date. That's the date it has to go in. on the 28th. It has to be at LADOT.
Ah, so it's got to be like Tuesday before.
21st. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Thank
21st
you.
or the Tuesday, whatever you want. Yeah.
I'll amend that. And sorry for the additional calendar invites, but I just felt like that kind of helped us this time, and I'd
Sure,
like
it's
to
good. Yeah.
like to do it every time.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts for the good of bicycling in LA? Any other final comments that we might want to share? Okay, this is a tremendous that everyone shows up like this. Thank you for taking the time. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always email me or Jennifer or Kent or Rob or Henny, your committee chairs, and we will be responsive. Okay, take care. Be safe on the streets. Stay hydrated, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Eli. Great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks again.
hold on.
Oh.
Hold on. Oh,
Sorry, what did I not adjourn?
no, I want to get the chat.
Okay, so I should stay. Okay, sorry. And then I also have to send it to Henny, right? The video?
Yes, the link to the video. Or did you record it to your computer?
I have no idea. I can see the record button is on.
So it's probably going to the Zoom cloud.
Yes, I think I directed it there. So then I have to somehow pull it down, right?
You can just send her the link unless you have to delete it from your space allocation. If you have unlimited space, then it's not a big issue. But ultimately, we probably ought to get these things downloaded and maybe saved to YouTube or something, so we have them permanently. We're not dependent on Zooms.
That's in the works, I believe.
We are working on it, yeah.
And Eli, you should be getting an email following up your recording, alerting you that a recording was made and providing the link. That's
okay.
What happened with me, anyhow.
Great. So if I've never done this before. So when I hit pause, it'll send me an email saying, "Here's your link." Or when I hit stop.
Stop.
Okay.
It takes several hours, depending on the length of the meeting, for it to generate or populate whatever. But by tomorrow morning, and possibly by 3 or 4 hours from now, you'll get an email saying, "Here's the link to your Zoom recording."
Tech Mike, I'll take advantage of your audio support before you leave tonight. Any other notes about the meeting, things we can do better, things we need to refine?
Well, yeah, the motions.
We got to build a process.
We're getting better, we at least work on them ahead of time.
Well, thank you for doing that, Kent. And I just would say that, we can't rely just on Michael's efforts, right? We need to figure out a process that allows more people to, we can't just rely on him. And he's been a really good sport in that way. So, yeah.
And we have a problem. It's timely. We only meet every 2 months. And, then if we drop our subcommittee meetings, we're going to meet even less. So we have to think about that, in terms of how much work we're going to get done in the subcommittee and in the committee. And so that's what I'm trying to keep it similar to or same and not. I was thinking of making less meetings, but now I don't think we should. I know you were too. You were thinking of making 6, and I don't think we can do that.
I think we need to figure out how to write motion. I think where the most time suck happens is in the motions. So if we can craft them to the place where they're really singing, I think we might be in a position to reduce the number of meetings from 18 to somewhat less. It's just a lot to ask for a volunteer crew. And I think the participation is amazing, but I don't want to abuse that.
Yeah, and when we have subject areas that are moving targets like the Griffith Park thing, it's pretty tough to nail it down.
We just jumped on it,
Yeah. So
I think we can't be too hard on ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. We last week we were discussing it off the recording.
Yeah.
Do you guys use Google Docs to work on?
Oh, we're doing that.
All that?
I'm starting to institute that now. Yeah, but it's a learning process, but we're going to get there.
I need help. Because...
Actually, maybe Mike and I can help you both. So what's up with the audio? So I should go to my audio settings.
Yeah.
So anyway, should I stop the recording at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.